There's a particular feeling that crawls into your gut when something isn't right. I can't quite name it, something between dread and intuition, but I felt it that Tuesday night when Claire came home. 7 years of marriage teaches you the rhythms of a person, the cadence of their laugh, the patterns of their movements. And something in Claire's rhythm had changed. She breezed through the door just after 11, her cheeks flushed, eyes bright in a way that didn't quite reach their corners. "Sorry I'm late, babe." You know how Melissa gets when she starts talking about work drama. Her voice carried that slight pitch, the one I'd learned to recognize when she was stretching the truth about small things, like who ate the last piece of cheesecake. I nodded, smiled back. "Did you have a good time?" "The best. We tried that new wine bar on 7th. She kicked off her heels, the red ones I'd given her last Christmas, and they clattered against the hardwood floor at odd angles. She never treated those shoes that way. I watched her from the couch as she disappeared into the bathroom, the faint scent of unfamiliar cologne lingering in her wake. Not overpowering, but distinct. I'm not the type of guy who catalogs colognes, but I know it wasn't mine. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more. The way she'd angle her phone away when texting. How she'd step outside to take certain calls. The sudden password on her phone, just because my banking app recommended it, she'd explained with a laugh that sounded rehearsed. 7 years, and I'd never heard her laugh quite like that before. Thursday night was when the pit in my stomach turned to concrete. She said she'd be home by 9, book club ran late, she texted. But at 11:30, her key finally turned in the lock. She giggled, actually giggled, as she stumbled slightly coming through the door. "Hey there," I said from the kitchen, where I'd been staring at the same page of a book for the past hour, pretending not to watch the clock. She startled. "Oh, you're still up." Her lipstick was slightly smudged, hair mussed in a way that book discussions don't typically cause. The foreign cologne was stronger this time, clinging to the fabric of her blouse like an accusation. "Just wanted to make sure you got home safe," I replied, keeping my voice steady, casual. Years of holding it together during tough negotiations at work had prepared me for this moment, though I never thought I'd need those skills at home. "You're sweet," she said, avoiding my eyes as she headed straight for the shower. I sat there listening to the water run, mentally replaying the little moments from the past month. The late nights. The new friends whose names she mentioned but whom I never met. The sudden interest in dressing up for casual outings. Each one a hairline fracture in what I thought was unbreakable. 7 years of building a life together, and for the first time, I was wondering if I even knew the woman behind the bathroom door. They say the worst pain comes from finally confirming what you've already known in your heart. That night, with Claire asleep beside me, her breathing deep and rhythmic, I did something I never thought I would. I became someone I didn't recognize. I waited until 3 a.m., when the house was silent except for the occasional creak of settling wood. Claire's phone sat on her nightstand, its edge peeking out from beneath her novel. The blue notification light pulsed softly in the darkness like a heartbeat. Like a dare. I reached for it, hesitating as my fingertips touched the cool glass. Was I really going to do this? Years of trust balanced against weeks of doubt. But that cologne, that laugh, those late nights. I punched in her birthday, the password she'd always used before suddenly needing a new one. Denied. I tried our anniversary. Denied. With trembling fingers, I tried one more, the day we met. The screen unlocked with a soft glow that illuminated my betrayal, both hers and now mine. What I found hollowed me out. Messages with someone saved simply as M filled her text history. Not just messages, photos, intimate ones. Words that belonged in our marriage, not shared with a stranger. Plans for their next meeting. Inside jokes. Pet names. An entire secret language developed right under my nose. "Miss you already. Tonight was perfect," read a message from 2 days ago, the night of her supposed dinner with Melissa. Attached was a photo of Claire in the red dress she'd worn that evening, sitting at a hotel bar I didn't recognize, eyes sparkling in a way they hadn't for me in months. M's response came with a picture of rumpled sheets in what was clearly a hotel room. Counting the hours until next Tuesday. I sat there, bathed in the blue light of irrefutable evidence, feeling something shift inside me. The pain was there, burning through my chest like acid, but alongside it grew something colder, more calculated. I took screenshots, forwarded emails to myself, noted dates, times, locations. I carefully replaced the phone exactly as I'd found it and returned to my side of the bed. Claire stirred slightly, murmuring something in her sleep that sounded disturbingly like a name that wasn't mine. Staring at the ceiling, I no longer felt like the man who had faithfully shared this bed for 7 years. I was becoming someone new, someone who documented betrayal with clinical precision, who planned rather than reacted. The trusting husband was dying with each passing minute, replaced by a strategist mapping out his next moves. Two can play at patience, I thought as dawn broke through our bedroom window. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. First, I would gather every receipt, every message, every photo. I would build my case meticulously while she thought herself clever and undiscovered. Claire rolled over, draping her arm across my chest in her sleep. I didn't flinch away. Instead, I placed my hand over hers and smiled in the half-light of morning. Let her think everything was normal. Let her believe in her perfect deception while I prepared my perfect response. The manila folder sat innocently on our kitchen table, its contents anything but. I'd placed it there with surgical precision, the culmination of weeks of investigation, the mountain of evidence impossible to explain away. Then I waited, seated at the kitchen counter, a glass of whiskey untouched before me. The ice had long since melted when I heard her key in the door. Claire's face transformed as she entered, from the distracted smile she wore for public consumption to something more guarded when she saw me sitting there, motionless, in the dimming evening light. What's wrong? The question hung between us as her eyes found the folder. Open it, I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. There's something you need to see. She approached cautiously, like the folder might bite. When she finally opened it, I watched the blood drain from her face. Photos from the cabin weekend. Screenshots of text messages I'd recovered. Location data showing her car parked outside his apartment building. Hotel receipts. A complete timeline of her Tuesday afternoons and late meetings. I don't, she began, but her voice cracked under the weight of such comprehensive evidence. Don't insult me by lying, I said. Not anymore. The photographs trembled in her hands. Frame by frame, her secret life exposed in high-definition color. Her fingers traced the edge of a particularly damning image, as if trying to erase it through touch alone. How long have you known? She whispered. Long enough. Then came the tears, the inevitable breakdown. She crumpled into the chair across from me, mascara tracking black rivers down her cheeks. The performance was almost impressive, how quickly she transitioned from denial to remorse. It was a mistake, she pleaded, reaching for my hand. I pulled away before she could touch me. It didn't mean anything. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I let her continue for a moment, watched her desperate scramble to salvage what she'd so carelessly destroyed. Then I reached for another folder, this one blue, not manila, and slid it across the table. Divorce papers, I said. Already drafted by my lawyer. You'll find the terms extremely generous considering the circumstances. I suggest you take them. I saw the exact moment reality crash down on her, when she understood that there would be no forgiveness, no reconciliation. Her eyes darted around our kitchen, taking in the home she was about to lose. Where am I supposed to go? The question was small, broken. That's not my concern anymore, I replied, standing. You have until tomorrow to pack your essentials. The rest can be arranged through the attorneys. As I walked upstairs, leaving her sobbing at our kitchen table, I felt something unexpected, not satisfaction or triumph, but a cold hollowness where rage had lived for so long. Claire had lost everything, her marriage, her reputation, her security, all according to my meticulous plan. Yet as I closed our bedroom door behind me, I wondered which of us had truly been destroyed by her betrayal. 6 months have passed since that night in our kitchen. The house is quieter now, my footsteps echoing in spaces once filled with what I mistook for love. I've repainted the walls, rearranged the furniture, erased every physical trace of Claire, yet sometimes, in the hollow hours before dawn, her betrayal still visits me like a phantom limb, aching where trust used to live. People say divorce breaks you. They're wrong. I was broken the moment I saw those photographs, her smile, meant only for him, captured in pixels I can't unsee. The divorce merely formalized what was already shattered. But what no one tells you about breaking is that when you reassemble the pieces, you can choose a new configuration, a stronger one. I ran into Mike last week, a mutual friend who'd chosen sides when everything imploded. He couldn't quite meet my eyes. I saw Claire yesterday, he said, studying his coffee cup. She's not doing well. I waited, unsure if I wanted details. M left her, he continued. Apparently, he wasn't interested in damaged goods. Her words, not mine. The news should have tasted sweet, this perfect karmic resolution. Instead, it sat heavy on my tongue like cold metal. I nodded, offered some neutral platitude, and changed the subject. Later, alone in my car, I searched for the vindication I'd imagined would come with her downfall. It wasn't vindication I found, but something more profound: indifference. The white-hot rage that once consumed my every waking hour had cooled to ash. Claire had become a stranger whose pain no longer touched me. This, I realized, was true freedom. Our mutual friends have largely scattered, uncomfortable with the messy truths exposed in our unraveling. Claire, once the radiant center of our social circle, now navigates the periphery, the whispered about, never whispered to. I've heard she's selling the condo she bought with her portion of our settlement. The market's down. She'll take a loss. Sometimes I think about the man I was before, trusting, blindsided, destroyed by her betrayal. He seems like someone I used to know, a distant relative whose photograph sits in an album I rarely open. The man I've become walks differently, sees clearly, carries himself with the quiet authority of someone who has survived his own annihilation. There's pride in that, not in destroying Claire's world as methodically as she destroyed mine, but in refusing to remain her victim, in transforming betrayal into boundaries, pain into purpose. I date occasionally now. I laugh more than I expected to. I've learned to sleep alone in a bed that no longer feels too empty. The scars remain, of course. I doubt I'll ever trust with the same abandon. But trust, like all things valuable, should perhaps come with conditions, with vigilance. This is how healing happens, not in grand gestures or perfect closure, but in small reclamations, in the quiet recognition that your story continues beyond its most devastating chapter, in the knowledge that while you can't choose what breaks you, you absolutely can choose what builds you back up.